The other piece that has been talked to here pretty significantly is the accountability side of the activity. How do you make the behavior in the space, the security activities associated with it, how do you make people accountable for that? And what kind of tools could you use? And so the next thing that we threw in there was, when you log on, I know who you are, I know where you work, I know your profile. And now, given that it's inside, you can do more than you can with an external. Okay? But that became very powerful. It also had its downside. I mean, if you log on, if you decide to enter into a conversation, direct something, respond to something, as a, let's say, a senior person in at least rank, you can be globally stupid. And you can do it very, very quickly. And if that bothers you, you're going to have to toughen up the hide because you're open to criticism. And in a military rank structure, that's something that is a paradigm shift. Okay? But if you can't stand being globally stupid once in a while, this is not the space for you. Okay? Now, we can, the other piece on the behavior side was people really worried in the rank structure that they would somehow breach it and you'd have inappropriate comments, you'd have... What we did was we turned it into, for an aviator, what was called a ready room. But we have an environment where, for training purposes, we wash off this stuff. And it's brutal. And we just turned this environment into that. So it is brutal. If you are misbehaving, it gets policed so very quickly that the downside that we have found, much like what we've heard here this morning, is extremely small, extremely minor. The upsides of the intellectual capital, the speed to which you gain information and context for decisions and planning and execution, I've not found anything that comes close, even close. And I'm talking, many people use this for many different reasons. I can focus on the enemy, got that. I can focus on higher headquarters and outturn them. And the organization can turn on a 24-hour clock very, very quickly. So if the piece of debris hits the shuttle, or if you're trying to deal with IEDs and you're trying to turn inside those decision cycles, you can do it. We also found that the multimedia piece is critical. The text is the most important and the most responsive. But I'll go back to this recent work that we were doing on hanging the solar panels on the International Space Station and coming across a hole in the skin and trying to figure out, did we punch something in? Was that a debris hit? Is it a current debris hit? Did it happen months ago? It starts in the middle of the night, but when you can put the cam that's on the station up and you can get to a global audience and you've got hundreds of people looking at this thing and the conversation is going in real time, you can get to a decision, you can understand the parameters of your problem very, very quickly. Is it perfect information? No. Do you understand always the pedigree of the data that you're dealing with? No. Welcome to real life. If I had perfect data, if I understood the pedigree of all of that data, I might be able to make a better decision, but it would be perfectly irrelevant because the time would have passed. We get paid to take risk. You try to manage the risk. Having no information because it's being staffed is a lot worse than having a broad array of information that you start to understand the error bar and you get good context and then you make the best decision that you can. If you wait for perfect information, you'll be irrelevant for my type of decisions, and you will be irrelevant probably in the marketplace also. So it's a big challenge. I think the other piece for us was a little bit about the introduction and how it worked and the counterculture activities that we had to go through. And I'll just kind of step through that real quickly, but One, we built it on a very cheap, free platform, and so it costs nothing. And I can't tell you how many times GAO has asked to come in and audit because they're sure we're spending billions. And you walk them in and you say, this is it, and you're hiding something. You're hiding something. It's somewhere out there on that network. You've got a secret headquarters. No, it's not. And I'm sure many have found the same thing. This is not major money. But it scales very quickly, and you do have to understand the fact that it scales quickly. And so for us, the first thing I wanted to do was to change culture a little bit by incentivizing the communication. The second was to be responsive to the people using the system and build it and turn it quickly so that it reflected their wants and needs. So, in the military we have these command and control systems that are really wonderful systems. And I'll pick, I guess, Air Force to use as an example, but they have one called the Theater Battle Management System, TBMCS. Each letter's worth $1 billion, and it takes about that many years to change it. Okay? What we started with was we turned an update every week for the first month. After the first month, we turned an update every 2 weeks, and now we're on a 30-day cycle. But it gave us a very quick turn to being responsive to our users and showing that we would change and could adapt this system to what we needed. Now, we're probably making changes maybe every month, and they're generally the large-scale type changes, not the small stuff. That took us about 6 months to get to a baseline that everybody kind of went, gee, this really does satisfy all of my needs. The user, just like the graphs here, you can't equate this to anything else you do for how quickly it picks up and moves. We started in the first month dealing with about 500 or 600 users, and it was really, this is the boss. That attracted a few because they were, for whatever reason, they were trying to participate. And I could come up with some acronyms, but but then all of a sudden it started to really take off after about the second or third week, and we find ourselves up in the thousands then of users. The events went much quicker. We started in the 300 or 400 transaction a day area, and after 6 months we were in the 3,000 or 4,000 an hour transaction area, and now for an exercise we're dealing in generally 250 to 350,000 per hour transactions. Global, across all of these communities, has now started to move across government. So we have, for us, the intelligence community, the State Department, Justice, very much into using and working and finding the information. And what we're trying to understand is, what do they want so that they will, in fact, use the system, because it becomes so much richer when you have that to pull from and you're trying to solve problems. So the scaling has really been significant and much faster than anything that we had really conceived of when we started the activity. But it is a tool. It is principally for situation awareness. It is fast enough that you can pick up the phone, see who it is you're talking to, do a one-word search, and there's not likely to be too much that you can't converse with them about. And for an executive, that's very powerful. And you can reach very deep into the technical side very, very quickly. And with the multimedia pieces and being able to stream video, or to be able to move over and get the actual text off of something that is going on right now in a language that there are no linguists for in your organization, is incredibly powerful. Where it will go, I'm not sure. We are seeing the individual cylinders of excellence start to build their own. What we're trying to understand now is, can I reach in and just let them build their own, but query against it and move across the barriers, the firewalls and whatnot, and bring them into the common space so that you can decide you have an intelligence problem, but there might be a physical solution over in the space side of the equation or someplace else, and have your people have the power to reach outside of their organizations and create correlations that you would never as an organization have come to. That's where the huge leverage has really emerged, because the individual analyst is able to do this.